3 bone-chilling sleepover horror stories that haunt you at midnight. The air crackled with tension in that small, dimly lit living room, shadows stretching across the walls like hands reaching for escape. The clock ticked ominously, its sound echoing in the silence, a reminder that something was just off. It was the kind of night that sent chills racing down spines, where every creak of the floorboard sounded like footsteps. When the 5 friends decided to hold a sleepover in the old Turner house, an abandoned relic with a history so dark it made adults shudder, they had no idea what awaited them. Whispers from the past danced through the air. They huddled close together, eager to share ghost stories. "Did you hear about the girl who vanished in the backyard?" Clara said, her voice quivering slightly. It wasn't just a tale, it was part of the creepy legend of the Turner house. They'd heard it from neighbors, but now it felt real, each word heavy with chilling weight. The girl, they said, had gone out to play in the moonlight and never returned. Her family searched, but all they found was a journal filled with frantic scribbles about things lurking in the shadows, things that wanted to be seen. As the wind howled outside, the group's fear morphed into anticipation. They decided to explore the dark corners of the home, armed only with a flickering flashlight. Each beam of light cut through the near-pitch blackness, revealing dust-covered furniture and broken picture frames. The energy shifted, something lingered in the air, an icy breath that made their hearts race. They found an old mirror, cracked and covered in a thick layer of grime. In its reflection, the shadows didn't just dance, they twisted. "Okay, this is getting weird," Jacob whispered, as his breath hitched. Then, suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the house, shaking them to their cores. Their instincts screamed at them to run, but curiosity held them in place. They were too far in now. To turn back would mean succumbing to the very fear that drew them here. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." They took a collective breath, and in that moment of eerie stillness, Clara's eyes widened in terror. "Look!" She pointed to the mirror, where a figure loomed. A shadow, distinct and full of sorrow, emerged just behind them, uninvited and chilling, whispering secrets only they could hear. "It's her," she gasped, a lump forming in her throat. What did the girl want? Panic surged through the group as silence fell like a thick fog. They were trapped, eyes wide, hearts pounding, as the figure reached out with a bony, translucent hand. The air became thick with dread. "We need to get out of here," Mark yelled, but the door slammed shut as if the house claimed them as its own. What secrets lay beneath its haunted floors? And what fate awaited them if they couldn't escape? The figure in the mirror seemed to inhale the room's light, its hollow gaze fixated on each terrified face. Anxiety clawed at Clara's chest, and she felt the urge to scream clawing its way to the surface. But Jacob gripped her arm tightly, his eyes wild. "Stay calm," he hissed, though his voice trembled with the same fear that filled the air. Mark dashed toward the door, hands trembling as he pulled at the handle. "Let us out. This isn't funny anymore." There was no response, just the intensifying howl of the wind, slamming against the house like angry fists. It felt like the old Turner house breathed, a living entity that stewed in darkness. Suddenly, the coldness enveloping them thickened. Clara felt her throat constrict as the shadow in the mirror seemed to swim closer, its whispers turning to shrill cries. "Leave, leave while you can." It echoed in a voice that sent shivers down their spines, neither male nor female, an agonizing blend of desperation and bitterness. "Did you hear that?" Clara cried, her eyes darting between the mirror and her friends. With a flick of the flashlight, the beam sliced through the dimness, and they caught glimpses of their own horrified reflections. No longer kids scared of the dark, they were now trapped souls staring into their possible futures. Jacob turned abruptly, sweat beading on his forehead. What if we can't leave? Stop it. Eva shot back. She took a deep breath. We can't just stand here. We need to figure out what to do. Mark finally gave up on the door, eyes darting around as if searching for an escape plan. What if the girl still wants to play? He muttered, almost to himself. Clara's breath hitched again. What if that journal, what if it has the answers? The legend they discussed earlier surfaced in her mind. They needed that journal. With a newfound resolve, the group moved toward the shadowy corridor leading deeper into the house. The walls seemed to close in as they crossed the threshold, and the air thickened, almost suffocating them. Just look for an office or a bedroom, Jacob instructed, heart pounding wildly against his ribcage. As they stepped into the dimly lit hallway, a sudden chill washed over them, erasing any warmth. The whispers grew louder, brushing against their ears like icy tendrils, urging them to turn back. But they pressed on, driven by a mixture of curiosity and sheer terror. This house, it doesn't want us here, Mark choked out, his voice barely above a whisper. They passed door after door, each standing like a sentinel. The grotesque doorknobs glinted ominously in the flashlight's beam. At last, they found a door partially ajar. Clara pushed it open, revealing a dusty room, walls lined with bookshelves filled with forgotten stories. In the far corner, something caught her eye. A weathered book lay open on a small, dust-caked desk, pages curling at the edges. It almost seemed to pulse with an ethereal glow, beckoning her closer. Clara stepped forward, drawn to the words scratched onto the yellowing page. The room grew heavy, and the air electrified. What does it say? She murmured as she leaned over the desk. Just then, the door behind them slammed shut. The echo vibrated through the walls, freezing them in place. Heartbeats synced into one frantic rhythm, the entire house now alive with anger. Shadows whispered, wrapping around them like a vice. From the depths of darkness, a voice, familiar yet haunting, dripped through the air. You've come looking for me, but I was never lost. As they turned to face the source of the voice, the twin shadows danced behind them. The girl, now ethereal and sorrowful, hovering closer, her finger gesturing to the journal. Come find me, she implored, lost in the tension of the moment. Clara's hand trembled as it reached toward the journal. Would it reveal the truth or lead them deeper into despair? Time hung heavy in that breathless space. Would they unravel the mysteries of the Turner house, or would the night claim their fates as it had done before? What choice would they have to make when faced with the chilling pull of the unknown? Clara's fingers brushed against the journal spine, a rush of energy coursing through her as if the house itself were urging her to delve into its secrets. The content of the old pages felt alive, vibrating with untold stories that begged to be uncovered. Yet, as she flipped it open, a sharp chill pierced her, making her gasp. The room darkened further, shadows stretching across the walls like hands reaching out to capture her. We shouldn't be here. Mark's voice quaked, eyes wide in panic. Suddenly, the air rippled with an unnatural energy, causing the pages to flutter violently. The whispers escalated, a cacophony of lost souls echoing around them. Leave, leave, they implored, swirling like a storm around the group. Clara squinted at the text before her. The ink shimmered, forming words that morphed as she read. Those who seek the truth must sacrifice what they hold dear. Her heart raced. What did that mean? Eva sucked in a breath, backing away. Maybe we should just go. Whatever's in there isn't worth it, not yet. Jacob reached out, grabbing Clara's hand gently. What if this is the key? We have to know. But his grip was shaky, revealing his doubt. The girl's spirit hovered closer, her translucent form glowing. The journal holds my heart. Only then can you understand. Understand what? Mark shot back, frustration bubbling. You're asking us to trust you, but look where that's gotten us. We need to get out. As tension thickened, Clara felt a sudden sense of dread sweep through her, as though the very walls absorbed their fear. If they turned back now, what would they leave behind? The resolved lament in the girl's face haunted her thoughts. The urge to drop the journal and run pulsed in her veins like a primal instinct. No. This is everything, Clara resisted, her voice trembling yet firm. I can't turn away now. The light from the flashlight began to flicker, casting eerie shadows that twisted and coiled around them, and an overwhelming force seemed to seep into the room. Images of twisted pasts flicked through their minds, betrayals, lost loves, grim memories, all dancing at the edges of their thoughts, daring them to remember. Clara. Jacob's voice cut through the grim haze, panic breaking his calm demeanor. Listen to her. It's a trap. We have to leave. But the girl shimmered even closer, her piercing eyes pleading. You must know the truth of the Turner house. It lies within. The journal pulsed again in Clara's hands, and the door behind them shook violently. With an agonizing creak, it flew open, revealing an inky void of darkness. The whispers became screams, urging them back into the safety of the hallway. It felt as if the house itself were exhaling, forcing them out. In that moment, Clara faced a choice: uncover the chilling secrets that may doom them all, or flee into the night with unanswered questions, leaving the girl eternally trapped. The inked words on the page glowed brighter, blinding her with intensity. Just then, a violent gust swept through, snatching the journal from her grip. It flew across the room, landing with an echoing thud. The girl flickered, her form beginning to disintegrate. It must be found. She cried. Before they could process what was unfolding, shadows surged forward, enveloping the room. The whispers turned to anguished wails rampaging through their ears, drowning out any rational thought. The darkness pulsed around them with a mind of its own, each heartbeat ringing like a drum of urgency, pulling them into the depths of terror. Clara's instincts kicked in. We need to go now. She shouted, racing for the journal. But the moment she reached it, the shadows lashed out, trapping her in a chilling embrace. Would they stay and confront the horror that awaited them within the pages? Or would the house consume them whole, delivering them into the grasp of the dark? As the house trembled around them, Clara braced for the inevitable. The real question loomed: could they survive the revelations that lay ahead? Clara's heart hammered in her chest like a war drum, the shadows tightening their grip around her as she reached for the journal. It crackled with energy, the atmosphere charged with fear and desperation. She could barely think, a whirlwind of thoughts swirling through her mind as her fingertips brushed the cover. She had to know what the girl's anguish was about, what the words meant. Clara! Mark shouted, his voice thick with panic. Get away from it. But her resolve solidified. This journal held secrets that could unlock everything she had felt since entering this house, and if it meant confronting whatever darkness lay ahead, so be it. She could feel Jacob's hand gripping her shoulder, urging her to back away, but she couldn't let fear chain her down. The air thickened and a surge of cold washed over her. The whispers vibrated through her bones, becoming clearer with each heartbeat. Find the truth or lose everything. The last words echoed like a dire warning. Clara! Eva's voice trembled, but there was something else there, a flicker of awe mixed with fear. It's like it knows you. Just give me a moment. Clara cried, her voice raw. With a swift motion, she seized the journal, pulling it toward her as shadows lashed out in frustration. The moment she grasped it, the house shuddered violently. Screams rose from the walls, peeling away like the layers of a decaying onion, every cry igniting her fight-or-flight response. The journal felt warm against her skin, almost as if it pulsed with its own heartbeat. If you want to uncover the past, you must embrace the pain, the girl's ghostly form whispered in Clara's ear, but this time, it didn't sound like a threat, it felt like an impossible promise. Stop! Jacob shouted. We can't just give ourselves up to this thing. Clara, listen. But the resolve in Clara surged, pushing against Jacob's plea. Her fingers trembled but held tight. "I need to know what happened to you," she cried, her eyes locked onto the ghost's. The world around them spun, shadows engulfing her, threatening to drag her down. With a deep breath, Clara opened the journal once more. The pages flipped chaotically, each gust of wind revealing lines and passages that twisted like serpents. Suddenly, the words settled, and Clara read aloud, "The sacrifice is not always blood, but fear itself." In that moment, the shadows released their grip, and the house fell silent, as if the words had struck a chord deeper than she had imagined. From the corners, the whispers transformed into a haunting melody, resonating through the air. The girl's form brightened, a shimmer of hope underlaid with sorrow. Clara sensed a connection, a tether pulling her toward the girl and deeper into the mystery. "Will you fight for the truth?" the ghost asked, her voice ethereal but filled with urgency. The room around them seemed to respond, walls pulsing as if they were alive. Clara's chest tightened. What would it cost her to learn the truth? Would she lose herself in the process? Think carefully. The girl's gaze pierced through Clara, leaving a chill running down her spine. Just then, the journal erupted with light, illuminating the shadows like a beacon. Clara's breath hitched, a cold realization settled in. If she stepped deeper into this darkness, there was no turning back. But the knowledge danced tantalizingly close, it sang to her, promising answers that lay beyond the threshold of her fears. "Clara!" Jacob's voice cut through her haze, desperate yet filled with concern, but the pull of destiny was strong. She took a step forward, her heart racing with anticipation and dread. Unbeknownst to them, outside the house, storm clouds gathered, brewing a tempest that mirrored the turmoil inside. They had awoken something ancient and forbidden. Clara didn't know what would follow, but she knew one thing: the moment of truth was upon them. As she braced for the unknown, the shadows writhed, coaxing her to surrender entirely. Would she dare to confront every hidden horror, unraveling the dark threads of fate stitched into the very fabric of the Turner house? In the silence that followed, a sudden crash reverberated through the walls, shaking the foundation. The group exchanged anxious looks, fear etched across their faces. The time to act was now, but were they ready for what lay ahead? The journal glowed brighter, casting flickering shadows that danced against the peeling walls of the old house. Clara's heart raced, the words of the ghost echoing in her mind. "Will you fight for the truth?" Behind her, Jacob gripped her arm tighter, his voice trembling. "Clara, please. We can't be here." But the urgency in her veins overwhelmed her. The air crackled with a charged energy, as if the house itself awaited her answer. She knew what she had to do. Tearing her focus from Jacob's pleading eyes, she leaned closer to the text, her brow furrowed with determination. Suddenly, the room warped. The walls seemed to ripple, bending her surroundings into a darkened tunnel. Clara gasped, feeling as if she were falling into the pages of a nightmare. The luminous energy of the journal surged into her, merging with her pulse, radiating through her veins like wildfire. "What's happening?" Mark yelled, his voice nearly lost in the chaos. "Stay close." Eva screamed, but even she looked uncertain as the shadows writhed like snakes, hungry for the light that Clara commanded. "Clara!" Jacob shouted, pulling at her with desperation. "Don't do this. You don't know what it wants." Yet the pull of the ghost was undeniable. Clara's gaze slid back to the shimmering girl, now fully formed. "Do you seek vengeance or liberation? Choose wisely." A vision shot through Clara's mind, vivid and sharp. A dark room filled with whispers, the girl smiling faintly, then fading away into despair. She saw flickers of an ancient ritual, faces distorting in agony, chains rattling, and then the girl, her eyes wide with betrayal as laughter echoed sinisterly around her. "Clara!" Jacob's voice broke through her trance, but her resolve didn't waver. "I don't care. I need to understand." With a fierce inhalation, Clara steeled herself. "Show me," she whispered, her voice a mix of softness and resolve. the journal surged again, and suddenly, the room exploded with vivid images. Clara felt herself standing in the very depths of a hidden chamber, candlelight flickering warmly against damp stone walls. She could see silhouettes dancing in shadowy corners, their laughter echoing, chilling her to the core. But there, in the center, was a sacrificial altar, smeared with dark stains that glinted ominously under the faint light. No, Clara breathed, the air clawing at her throat. The reality of the girl's torment clawed at her heart. "Welcome," a sinister voice dripped from the shadows, drawing Clara's attention. A cloaked figure stepped into the light, revealing a face twisted with malice. "You have come to join us." Glimpses of horror flooded in as Clara felt the room constrict around her. Time warped, laughter turned into screams, faces twisted in unnatural joy. She could hear the ghost, her cries blending with the chaos, echoing Clara's own turmoil of anguish and despair. Clara's pulse raced, sensing that she was slipping into madness. "No, I want to be a part of this. Not again." But the entity chuckled. "You think you can escape what has been written? You are bound to this legacy of darkness." "Clara." Mark's voice rang out, restoring a flicker of strength in her. She had to break free. Suddenly, the journal flared brilliantly, awakening a force within her. It was then she realized it was her own fear she needed to confront, her own helplessness. Clara tightened her grip, feeling the warmth of the journal as a shield against the encroaching darkness. Then, with everything she had, she shouted, "I choose to fight." The shadows recoiled, the entity's laughter turned to screeches as the house vibrated with Clara's resolve. "Run!" Jacob urged, pulling her back towards the entrance as the energy crackled and splintered around them. But just as they stepped toward the threshold, the floor quaked violently, sending them crashing to their knees. Clara looked back one last time at the girl's ghost. Her luminous form was now frantic, the hope replaced by fury. "Will you abandon me?" Clara's breath stalled in her chest. Was it too late to save her, to confront whatever else lay in store? The walls groaned like a living creature, shadows reaching closer, hungry for souls. As Clara and her friends teetered at the brink, the question hung heavy: what would they become if they left the truth behind? And outside, the storm raged, mirroring the tempest within. Would they find salvation, or be consumed by the very darkness they sought to escape? In that moment of peril, the journal pulsed with intensity, its final secret yet to be unleashed. Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she looked back at the ghost, struggling against the urge to sprint from the house. The shadows crawled across the room, stretching like malevolent fingers. Jacob, Mark, and Eva were scrambling beside her, the fear emanating from them palpable, pressing against Clara like an iron weight. "Clara, let us go. Now!" Jacob shouted, panic lacing his voice. She could see the worry etched on his face, yet his eyes flickered with a spark of determination too. They were all fighting the same battle, each grappling with the weight of Clara's decision, but the journal pulsed with energy, gleaming like a beacon in the suffocating darkness. It felt magnetic, pulling at her, urging her to stay and dig deeper into the shadows of the past. With a glance at the altar, gruesome images still fresh in her mind, Clara felt an anger rise within her, a fire igniting her spirit. "No! We can't leave like this." With renewed fervor, Clara stepped closer to the altar, the twisted figure smirking in the periphery of her vision. "Fight?" It hissed, the air thick with condescension. "You think that courage can change your fate? Let us go." Mark yelled as he gripped Clara's shoulder tightly, his voice strained with urgency. The walls trembled, the floor vibrating as if sensing their rising tension. But the intensity in Clara's heart drowned out their protests. "You don't understand. This isn't just about us. Someone has to face the truth." She thrust the journal forward, daring the entity to respond. The shadows hesitated for a moment, flickering like the dying embers of a fire. Then, from the depths of darkness, a red-eyed figure emerged, twisting in anger. It lunged forward, ethereal claws dragging through the air toward Clara. Clara! Jacob cried out, but it was too late. Clara stood firm. At that moment, the journal erupted with a blinding light, illuminating her surroundings, casting away the shadows. She felt a surge of energy, anchoring her to this moment, charging her with the strength of every soul that had suffered in this house. Voices bubbled to the surface, a chorus of the forgotten, echoing the girl's pained wails. "Save us!" The ghost's voice pierced through the chaos, more desperate than ever. The room shuddered, the shadows seemed to sway in sync with the pulsing rhythm of the journal. "You are the only one who can end this." Understanding flickered in Clara's mind. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a chance to rewrite history, to give a voice to the voiceless. "I will not abandon you," she shouted, the words carrying the weight of her resolve. Suddenly, the air thickened, coiling around her like a serpent. Clara closed her eyes, focusing all her will on responding to the swirling shadows, the faces lost in time. "I choose liberation." The shadows recoiled, cries of anger spiraling around her. The journal glowed brighter, enveloping her completely in its warmth. She felt threads of connection weave together, a tapestry of histories entwined with pain, betrayal, and now, perhaps hope. But then, the room erupted in earth-shattering cacophony. The entity, furious and relentless, flung Clara back, her body crashing against the altar. Pain shot through her, the world blurring for a moment. She gasped, fighting to breathe, disoriented. Through the chaos, Clara saw Jacob rush to her side, his expression frantic, desperate. "You're okay. Please, we can't lose you." As she opened her mouth to respond, the world shifted again, a vortex of light and darkness colliding, threatening to swallow her whole. "Will you stand with me?" The ghost's voice echoed in the abyss. Clara's chest tightened, a stark realization standing stark in her mind. The deeper truth lay ahead, a choice that could change everything, but at what cost? With a surge of determination, Clara pushed against the pain. "Yes." She managed to cry out. "I'll fight with you." Suddenly, the air ripped apart, revealing flickers of time long forgotten. Echoes of laughter morphed into screams, blending the past with the present. And in that moment of disarray, the shadows swelled, threatening to pull everyone back into the depths of their own nightmares. But Clara felt different now. Empowered. The journal surged one last time, and with it came a fierce pulse of light, opening a path through the chaos. But would it lead them to freedom or more devastating revelations? Clara's pulse quickened as she clutched the journal. What would they find on the other side of this battle? The answer lay just beyond, shrouded in darkness and dread. The world dissolved into a cacophony of color and sound, a swirling tempest around Clara. Dark and light collided, each competing for dominance in this surreal battlefield. She felt the crushing weight of 1,000 whispers pressing against her mind, cries of anguish and fear mixing with a flicker of hope. "Clara!" Jacob's voice sliced through the chaos, grounding her. She turned to him, his face was ghostly pale, eyes wide with terror. "We need to go. Now." The shadows writhed near the altar, as if sensing the desperation in their hearts. The furious entity, still obscured, unleashed a roar of fury, vibrating through the space and shaking Clara to her core. "No! Listen to me!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the fear like a knife. The journal felt warm in her grip, a lifeline. "This is our moment. We can't back down." As if responding to her plea, the journal pulsed, sending streams of light arcing toward the ghostly figure. It recoiled, its twisted form faltering in the brightness, hissing and snarling like a cornered animal. Clara's heart raced with exhilaration, a fire ignited within her. "Remember their stories," Clara cried out, her voice rising above the noise. "We can save them." The echoes and whispers swelled around her, palpable as the shadows loomed larger, stretching toward her friends. Eva clutched Mark's arm, her face etched in desperation, and Clara could see the doubt festering between them. "You have to trust me." "Trust you?" Mark's eyes darkened. "You're asking us to face a monster." Clara swallowed her frustration, knowing fear had a grip on them all. "This monster is a part of our history. If we don't confront it, it will keep haunting us. We can." Then the shadows surged again, splintering the air with a deafening roar. Clara braced herself, grounding herself once more in the mission ahead. The voices echoed louder, emboldening her as she focused on the entity. "You are not our master," Clara shouted, energy coursing through her, merging with the lingering spirits. "This ends now." A violent gust of wind swept through the room, lifting Clara's hair and filling her with renewed strength. The floor vibrated intensely, and Clara could feel everyone's heartbeats synchronizing, gathering power. "Channel your fear," she yelled, turning to her friends. "Feel it and release it. Imagine the light pushing back the darkness." With Clara's urgings pushing them forward, a mix of confusion and determination took root among them. Jacob clenched his fists, channeling every ounce of fear into purpose. "Together," he mumbled, echoing Clara's sentiment. The air crackled as they focused their collective energy, swirling toward the entity towering before them. The shadows screeched, slashing through the space, but Clara felt them falter. The journal vibrated in her hands, links to the past thrumming beneath her fingertips. "You can't scare us," Clara screamed, a new surge of emotion propelling her forward. "Your reign of terror ends here." Light exploded like fireworks, illuminating the space. The shadows writhed, desperately trying to resist, but the bond Clara forged with her friends and the spirits began breaking through the darkness. They formed beams of light weaving together like a protective barricade. A final roar rang out, the entity's furious cry echoed in the cavernous room, some part of it beginning to shatter under the pure strength of their will. But as it began to dissolve into tendrils of darkness, a whisper broke through the chaos, a faint cry reaching Clara's ears. "You can't erase the past." Her heart sank. She understood, suddenly, that the true horror would not vanish just like that. There were truths deep, haunting wounds hidden beneath the surface, unsolved mysteries clamoring to be heard. "Clara!" Jacob shouted as the room drew into focus, the light causing the shadows to tremble. "What do we do?" The air chilled as the swirling mass began to coalesce again, a new figure emerging from the shadows, dark and foreboding. In that instant, Clara realized the battle wasn't over, it was only just beginning. The shadows pulsed, and with it, the entity twisted, rearing up. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Would they be strong enough? Had they forged a bond that could possibly withstand whatever was coming next? The shadows shifted once more, and the darkness around them thickened again, pulling them all tighter into its grasp. What new nightmares awaited them, lurking just outside the beam of light? The shadows whispered promises of treachery and secrets long buried. Clara steeled herself, staring into the heart of that darkness, ready for whatever was about to unfold. The air crackled, charged with tension as the shadows twisted into a form more defined, more sinister, than Clara had ever seen. The resemblance to a familiar figure sent a chill racing down her spine. It was a specter of memories long buried, eyes like hollow pits that reflected nothing but anguish and despair. Clara's heart thundered violently in her chest as she fought to keep her ground. "Stay together!" she shouted, her voice nearly drowned out by the echoes that filled the cavernous space. Jacob stepped closer, his determination flickering like the light around them. "This is no ordinary ghost," Eva gasped, clutching Mark's arm tighter, her knuckles white. "It feels like it's drawing from our fears." The entity hissed, a rasping sound that reminded Clara of her nightmares, echoing all too personally within her. It was feeding on their terror, surging closer with every trembling heartbeat. The shadows writhed like serpents, coiling around them, trying to pull them into the depths of despair. "Concentrate," Clara urged, determination surging as she gripped the journal, its presence a warmth against her palm. We have to remember our strength. Each story we hold is a weapon against this darkness. Mark's gaze darted to her. But what if we fail? What if it consumes us? With each word, the dark figure seemed to pulse and glow, feeding off their fear, feeding off their doubts. It was as if the shadows were growing bolder, dancing closer around them, whispering deadly secrets that clawed at the edges of their minds. Jacob stepped forward, eyes narrowing. We won. Let it win. We have each other. He raised his hands, fingers extended as Clara, feeling the collective energy ripple, raised the journal higher. Remember the people who have come before us, Clara shouted, recalling the stories of resilience and hope that had always bubbled to the surface in their town. They faced horrors we can't imagine, and they survived. Together. They echoed, their voices rising in unison, melding into a single powerful force. The light from the journal surged, illuminating the shadows just enough to see the fear mirrored in the entity's eyes, an unexpected flicker of uncertainty surfacing. The apparition trembled as Clara shouted again, "You don't own us. We refuse to be your ghosts." For a brief moment, the shadows hesitated, and Clara seized that chance. She forced her thoughts to unite, memories flooding her mind, moments of joy, tears, love. With every second, her conviction deepened as the air shimmered around her like mirages of hope. At the same time, something shifted. The entity recoiled, screeching in agony, but its shape began to change, warping like a reflection shattered on the water. Injured whispers filled the air, brushing against their ears like the rustling of autumn leaves. It was desperate, begging to be understood. "Clara." Mark's voice cut through the twilight haze as the shadows writhed and thrashed violently. "It's like it wants something. What does it want?" Clara's mind raced, recalling the words she had heard moments ago. You can't erase the past now. What did that mean? What was buried in the darkness they needed to unearth? "Maybe," she said hesitantly, "it doesn't want to be forgotten. Maybe we need to acknowledge it, face it." As reality swayed around her, Clara could feel her friend's eyes upon her, caught between fear and the hope of what she proposed. "Can we really listen to it?" Eva whispered, her voice breaking, "What if it's a trap?" The darkness thickened again, laced with tension, as the shadows grew restless, limbs reaching toward them as if craving acknowledgement. "It's a gamble," Jacob said quietly, his steady gaze unwavering. "But it's the only way." The oppressive heaviness loomed as Clara took a shaky breath, wrestling with her own doubts. "We need to hear it. Maybe then we can put these spirits to rest." Clara felt the ground rumble beneath them, urging them forward as the tension reached a fever pitch. The entity bared its jagged teeth, ready to strike, but Clara stood firm, unwavering. Could this moment become their lifeline? Together she urged once more, raising her voice above the chaos as the shadows closed in, "Let's confront it." Would they find the truth hidden within the shadows, or would they awaken something darker than they could imagine? As they braced for the unknown, Clara's heart raced. The secrets of the past were eager to spill out, but at what cost? The darkness was waiting, and it would not be forgiving. The shadows lunged, thick and oppressive, swirling in a frenzy that pressed against Clara and her friends. It felt as if the very air around them became electric, heavy with an ancient sorrow, forcing them to confront not just the specter before them but the hidden fears lurking within their own hearts. "Clara, hurry." Mark's voice trembled, pulling her from her thoughts. There was a raw urgency in his posture, and when she looked into his eyes, it was evident that their fear was palpable. The dark figure continued to writhe, its edges blurring like smoke caught in a gust of wind. Clara felt the heat of her friends beside her, their hands brushing together in an unspoken pact to dive deeper into the unknown. "Speak to it," Eva shouted, her voice shaking yet powerful. "Tell it we are here." Clara nodded, heart racing as she focused on the entity. "What do you want? Why are you here?" The words were barely out of her mouth when the shadows around them recoiled, revealing fleeting glimpses of haunting faces, lost souls clamoring for acknowledgement. The specter paused. Its hollow eyes bore witness to an eternity of pain. Clara could feel her heart beat, a wild tattoo in her chest, each thump urging her to push further. "You are not alone," she cried, feeling the collective strength of her friends. "We remember you. We feel your pain." The figure surged forward, enveloping them in darkness, but they pressed on, fueled by an exhilarating dread. Instead of backing away, Clara willed herself to step closer, fighting the instinct to flee. Then came a whisper, faint yet clear, "Release me." The words wrapped around Clara, squeezing her insides. As they echoed, a sliver of understanding broke through the entity. Wasn't here for vengeance, it was an anchor in grief, yearning for release from the chains of its own past. "Release," Jacob murmured, grasping the journal tighter. "But how?" "Maybe it wants us to share our stories, too," Eva suggested anxiously. "We need to let it know we see it, too. We all have pain. Could it really be this simple?" Clara inhaled sharply, her thoughts wild as the weight of truth began to settle. "We can help you," she said, her voice steadier now as she raised her chin defiantly. "You need to know you are not forgotten. Share with us." The dark figure paused, its formlessness now shimmering as if waiting. When Clara looked deep into those hollow eyes, she sensed a faint flicker, a desperate urge to unburden itself. Together, she urged her friends. "Let us share our fears. Let it hear us." Eagerly, Jacob began first, recounting a memory that clawed at his insides, a moment of deep loss, the emptiness it left behind. The shadows stilled, as if intrigued. Eva followed with her own story, a tale of regret that shimmered with vulnerability. The weight of their fears felt lighter. The figure started to shift again. It pulsed with a rhythmic energy, absorbing their sorrows. Clara could feel the shadows waver, gradually shaping into a scene, a glimpse of what had once been, lost in the passage of time. It formed a mosaic of faces, emotions caught in a dance of remembrance. As more stories spilled forth, Clara felt an exhilarating thrill course through her veins. They were revealing the deep wells of grief, and in return, the entity was transforming, light flickering in the abyss, but just as hope blossomed, darkness lunged once more, as if sensing its impending demise. It twisted violently, shrieking hymns of despair, and sent shockwaves through the group. "Hold on!" Mark shouted, scrambling to keep everyone grounded amidst the chaos. "Focus!" Clara shouted back, her mind racing with urgency. "One more story. We can do this." But would a single tale turn the tide before it was too late? The shadows were closing in, and Clara felt the world teeter at the edge of oblivion. Would this gamble lead to freedom, or would it all unravel into something far worse? As the darkness swirled closer, she realized they were not just fighting for the past, they were fighting for their future. But would it be enough? The answer loomed just out of reach, and Clara braced for the plunge into the abyss. Clara's heart thundered as she stood amidst the swirling shadows. She could see the fear mirrored in her friends' eyes. Mark, Jacob, and Eva were all battling their own demons while clinging to the fragile thread of hope that connected them. The dark entity writhed, a twisted amalgamation of past pain eager to consume them. "Focus! One more story!" Clara yelled, her voice amplifying against the swirling chaos. "We can do this! Let it hear us!" Jacob's voice rang out with determination. His bravery fueled Clara's resolve further. The shadows loomed closer, and Clara could feel the palpable tension tightening, like a noose pulling them under. "Okay, I'll go next," she said, taking a deep breath. Memories flashed through her mind, the pain of losing her grandmother, the weight of longing that came with it. The words spilled from her lips, raw and open. "I lost someone I loved, she was my anchor in life. Without her, I felt like I was floating in a dark sea, lost and scared." As the words left her, Clara noticed a flicker, a softening in the entity. It paused, tilting toward her as if it were listening. "I felt so alone," she continued, tears pricking at her eyes. "I didn't know how to cope with the hurt. But learning to talk about my grief, to remember her joy that brought me back. Mark stepped forward next, erupting with a vulnerability he had kept hidden. My brother, he had dreams that were cut short. We thought we could change things, but we couldn't. The regret eats me up. I wish I had told him how proud I was of him instead of focusing on what was wrong. Oh, God, Eva choked out beside him, breaking the emotional barrier as her own pain surfaced. I regret the things I didn't say. I've hidden behind my fear. I wish I could go back, tell those I love that I appreciate them. I want them to feel seen. In that moment, the room trembled, a sudden clamor reverberating around them as shadows twisted with uncertainty. Clara's heart soared. This was their moment to connect, to let the darkness know it was being heard. Together, Clara said fiercely, squeezing Jacob's hand tightly. Let us remind it that it's not alone. It deserves to be heard just like us. The dark figure hesitated, shimmering and reshaping, its jagged edges softening ever so slightly to reveal flickers of faces from the past, lost souls caught in endless despair. Clara felt a ripple of curiosity pulse through her, like a lighthouse beckoning ships from the storm. We see you, Clara continued, her voice stronger now, resonating with fierce compassion. You are not forgotten. Share your story. But just as the momentum began to shift, shadows erupted, roaring with anger, a last attempt to resist. Clara's heart sank, the fear almost overwhelming. Fight back! Eva shouted, her voice full of fury. We're deeper than you. Driven by the urgency, Clara grasped the journal, and the light pulsed within her. Every moment matters. Every story counts. She could feel the warmth enveloping her and her friends, empowering them in their shared pain. In those breathless seconds, a ghostly sound wrapped around them, a gentle, sorrowful tremor. The dark entity writhed in despair, recognizing the truth it had hidden for so long. Release, let me go, it begged, its strength beginning to wane. Release yourself. Clara urged back, heart racing with hope. Suddenly, a surge of emotion cascaded through the air like a wave. Tell us what you need. Jacob declared, clenching his fists. We'll help you. The shadows shifted again, reflecting anguished memories, the laughter, the love, the intertwined pain of lost connections. Clara felt a jolt in her chest, a flicker of understanding igniting deep within her. They were more alike than different. As the words echoed in the air, the entity began to unravel. Clara was awash in warmth, each shared story intertwining, lifting the shadows further away. I let fear control me. I didn't want to let go, the entity squirmed, taking on a shape of fleeting figures trapped in regret. I only wanted them to remember. Moved by the spectre's sorrow, Clara stepped closer, her voice steady. You will not be forgotten. Your pain matters. Together, let us remember it's time to heal. And with that declaration, a blinding light erupted, surging from Clara, marking the beginning of transformation. The room exploded with luminescence, casting away the remnants of darkness. The figures coiled in shadows began dispersing into soft light, leaving behind echoes of laughter and memory, fragments of lives intertwined in stories of resilience and hope. Together, Clara shouted, rallying her friends as the ghostly forms dissolved into the air. They were free. The bond they forged through memories was stronger than any darkness they encountered. As silence enveloped them once more, Clara looked around, heart swelling with love for her friends. We faced our fears and their truth. We can carry our stories forward. The shadows dissipated. Outside, the storm began to wane, revealing a blanket of stars glittering against the deep night sky. Let us go home, Clara said, turning toward the door. They stood together at the threshold, a hard-earned bond forged against the darkness. Together, we'll make new memories, Mark smiled, wrapping an arm around Eva. Clara felt the warmth of their connection anchoring her. And we won't forget, she added, taking one last look back at the remnants of the haunted house. Not ever. As they stepped outside, freedom washed over them. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, united in their stories, ready to embrace the light that followed. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any exclusive stories that will keep your heart racing. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this twisty ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Show your support and be part of the community that loves these heart-stopping tales.